So everyone, as I told you yesterday as well, we had two 750 scores within probably half an hour yesterday. So you see Shivam on your screen with a 750 score, 5041. I'm surprised sometimes because 5041 a lot of times is 760 and sometimes it's 750.
Hi.
Hey, hi. Right, Shivam. So I guess
Hi,
this is
Sam,
the
how are you?
first time we're interacting. I do not know when I came to your college you were there or not, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So just let us know your journey of 750. And I do not know much because you were part of the self-paced course and you probably never reached out as well, as far as
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
So just take us through your journey, please.
Yeah. So I got enrolled in this course in February, in the month of February, but I didn't. So at that time, I was targeting the DEFID programs,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't prepare for the GMAT that time. So I had to skip my plans for April. Then I graduated in May this year. So I started my preparation in June, starting 1st June,
Mm-hmm.
because I was at home at that time, at this time, and I gave my first attempt yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So first I was planning mid-July, but
Okay, 1 second. So you started on 1st of June in a way,
yeah,
and it took you almost just 1.5 months, let's say. That's it. About
uh,
50 days, let's say, somewhere around.
yeah. So I prepared for 50 days.
Mm-hmm.
For the month of June, for the first 30 days, I was like, I was not very rigorous. But for
Mm-hmm.
the past 20 days, I was very rigorous. Like I was preparing for the whole day
Mm-hmm.
in itself, like waking up early and starting my preparation. So last 20 days were very intense. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I started my journey on 1st of June. I got enrolled in February, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't prepare because I was not able to like manage at that time because of semester other
Mm-hmm.
things that were
Right.
going on. So yeah, I
That's
started.
really phenomenal to know, Shivam. So just take us through your journey. What all did you do in each of the areas, RC, SC, CR, Quant?
Yeah.
Which materials you studied? What helped you the most? And then your mocks and exam experience. Chronologically, just take us through.
Okay. So for me, the major area of improvement was in verbal as a whole. So I was not very good from the school time itself. I was not very good in, in the verbal aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very underconfident as well in this verbal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Quant was good for me. It was not an issue
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning. But so for verbal, I'll divide like in three itself, like how HC and
Mm-hmm.
how RC and I went about critical reasoning. So for like for RC, the thing that helped me the most was like there are two things that helped me the most. The first one was uh, the awareness session.
Mm-hmm.
So what helped me was because it gave me an insight of like how I really need to think about when I am actually going through a passage.
Right.
Gave me a background which I think was really helpful because
Mm-hmm.
when you come from an Indian background, you really need a US insight about how they think about things.
Right.
So, so that you can actually think in from their perspective when you are reading an RC passage, which is
Mm-hmm.
based on their path, their history.
Yeah.
So that was yeah the know the world awareness. I didn't watch whole series, the first three videos,
Mm-hmm.
because of time constraints. I really wanted to watch others as well, but I wasn't able to like find the
Mm-hmm.
time because they are very long. So first three videos were, I guess, enough. And when you practice after that, like even if you practice like around 80 to 100 passages, you get a good idea of how you really need to approach the RC passage as in terms of understanding.
Right.
And the second thing was again the octave technique, the first O part, the opinion part. Before like starting the preparation, I was not thinking about
Mm-hmm.
looking the passage in terms of how to classify as an opinion. Then when I use the technique, I practiced certain passages based on that, which was there in the guide itself.
Right.
And then it became started to become like a part of my conscious only. So
Mm-hmm.
right now it's a bit difficult to classify it like if I'm reading it alone, like I'm classifying my opinions alone. It's
Yeah,
just
it's become
the part of it.
subconscious, it's become part of you now, I think. So
Yeah, so
that's
it's
what.
just that now I know that whenever there is a contradict, it just hits me that there is a contradiction. So whenever I'm reading the options, I know that the format will be like it's the author is actually either basically it's going to contradict at some point. So
Right,
that's how
right,
the answer is going to be.
right.
So that these two things were the most important one. Then comes the practice. So you need to practice a lot. So that's how it becomes part of your conscious. And the another major thing for me was the sentence correction part. Before coaching, I was just doing everything intuitively. I had no clue like what are the things that are tested and everything else. So I was just doing it. This answer looks good, so that's how I was marking my answers.
Right.
Then I started. Then I not learn, I would say, but I just started practicing on the rules that were there. The basic guide which states all the rules, and there are 50 examples. So I started with that, and I watched the videos accordingly, and based on that, I started practicing more and more. And then again, that itself became part of a conscious. Whenever like there was some subject work, any rule basically, there was a problem in that, then it becomes relatively easy. It becomes part of your conscious.
Right.
That's what you have to do. After like revising the rules and everything, it just becomes part of how more you practice and how well you do about that. For the critical reasoning part, what's important is like the basic, you need to understand for what they are actually testing you upon. Then it is basically logically deducing all those arguments. First, and what they're testing you upon was, I went through the presentations that were there in this course. What they are actually testing you, what is the background, like if this doesn't cause this, then what are the logical situations that could help to either strengthen, or what are the could be the assumptions, what could be the weakness. So what are the basis of that? You need to first understand how this works, and then it's about practicing and logically deducing every argument to what are the basic assumptions that are behind it. And that's how I went
Really,
about.
really nice to see your critical reasoning analysis. You've been very, very logically done. How about data sufficiency? Were you making any mistakes, or was it all fine? Because you said quant was fine. Problem solving, I can understand. But how about DS?
What happened was, for initially, so I practiced from the mocks a lot. So I gave a lot of mock tests. What I didn't do was practice a lot of or study a lot of quant separately, because my main target was improving verbal.
Right.
So the background of maths, basically I was the background that I've had on quant, like preparing for the JE and before that. So I thought that I had a strong grip on that. But even from the mocks, I felt that what I was doing was very silly mistakes. Silly mistakes in the sense, not like I was getting a question wrong, or I didn't know how to solve it, but either I was to hurry up, I was either not reading the question properly, or I was missing point. Let's say even in some question there is mention it's got to be a positive integer. So I had two options. I forgot to read it has to be a positive, and that's how like I mixed up in the
Right.
data sufficiency. That was the problem that I was doing in general. So quant during the preparation was easy for me, but on the test day, I think anxiety took a bit hold of me, and I felt like quant a bit difficult. So because I started with the quant, and for the first 10 questions, it took me more than 2 minutes per question. Uh,
Right.
so that was, but then again, just as the test progressed, I paced it up and I completed the section. So in the
Right.
beginning, some anxiety took hold of me. So that is one thing that I think one needs to take care of during the test day.
Right.
Otherwise, quant was like
Right. Right.
that was good. Okay for me.
All
Yeah.
right. And what all material in the practice part you used, and what was your exam experience? Just take us through that. Yeah,
Okay.
in detail, please. I'd like to really know, because that's where a lot of people really will be reaching that stage soon in this batch. So that will be really, really important. Please do take us through that.
Okay. So for the practice part, I'll talk more about from the verbal point of view. So for the practice part, first of all, I did whatever the direct class session guides were there for the course. I practiced first on that based on the videos, the direct class session questions that were there in the guides. Then later on, I practiced the 700, 800 level questions for each of the parts. And then I gave mock tests. I gave around 10 full mock tests, a few specified verbal mock tests of 50 minutes each, 30 questions, 50 minutes each for SC and RC. And yeah, so these were the major things that I practiced. The first being the class session guides, then the 700, 800 level questions. And so, yeah, I think 700, 800 level questions are very important for the practice part, because these are like good questions. First of all, these are higher order questions, and second, they give you a good idea of how you can expect the questions to be in the exam. So
Right.
that's how I did more. And to get an idea of how I'm scoring, how I'm managing my time, I practiced the mock tests, full mock tests, and that were there.
All right, all right. And test, you did tell the quant anxiety bit, but overall, was there anything unusual on the exam, or what was your overall experience like of the 2.5, 3 hours there? Just take us through.
Okay, so I think I'll make a pretty good point here. The thing is that it's a relatively long exam. So I think one thing that we need to take care of is getting into the habit of longer sittings.
Right.
So even for me, like I thought that would be okay, not a problem for me, because
Mm-hmm.
let's take for the past experience, even the like I have even the JEE advanced exam. So that is a 6-hour exam, 3 hours each. But that was again 4 hours, 4 years ago. And I think even in this batch, a lot of people would have given a lot of competitive exams. So,
Yeah.
but that was in the like past. So thing is that right now it becomes difficult. So
Yeah.
giving that exam, there are 4 sections. So and that takes up a lot of energy out of you. So I
Mm-hmm.
think first of all, we from at least 15 to 20 days, you should get into the habit of sitting for longer sessions and practicing more uh,
Right.
exams. Second, another thing, like what I did was, so I had the exam slot from 8 a.m. starting morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I started like waking up 15 days before. So I started getting into the group for that time zone. I started waking up early, and I used to give at that time itself mock tests starting from 8, or starting studying from 7:30, so that I could get into the flow of getting my brain energy directly at that time zone. I could manage that. So that is one thing I did.
Yeah.
And on the exam day, yeah, so for the starting, some anxiety, there were some anxiety issues in the like starting part, but then it became like
You started with quant, that is right. That is why
yeah,
anxiety, a bit of anxiety. Okay, okay,
yeah, yeah,
understand.
yeah.
And take us through, was there anything unusual? I asked this because this is one major question people have, that
Mm.
was there anything really unusual in the exam that you had not seen or done before or something like that?
Uh, I don't think that was the case, because because for me that was not like there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much anything unusual that happened.
Right,
Uh,
right.
Apart from being anxious for like 15-20 minutes for initial, everything went smooth on. Again, like there wasn't anything that felt like it is something new or anything like
Mhm.
that. It
Right,
felt like everything has been done before, everything I've practiced before. It
right,
was
right.
just about like getting things right, and the more you get it right, that more right. So not neither later on, neither the time was an issue, nothing else. It was just about getting
Yeah.
things right in the beginning of the exam.
So Shivam, because you took a compressed kind of preparation in your 20 days, you really, really probably put in everything, every moment you had, waking moment. What would be some of the tips for people who are going to write the exam? What they should not do and what they should do? Just can you take us through? Now that you're on the other side, you can obviously talk about it. Yes, tell us.
Okay, so one thing that you should do is basically practice a lot of 700 plus level questions. So just come what I will suggest is, during your practice, just complete those guides that are there for each verbal
Mm-hmm.
portion. SC, just do most of the passages, do most of the questions as much as you can. And don't do it from the perspective of like you're practicing for an RC passage. Do it from a perspective that is going to enhance your knowledge. Because I think when I was doing RC passages, I found it pretty fun actually. So they were like, okay, this could happen as well. This is how they
Mm-hmm.
have studied. So more like it was
Yeah,
more.
like this is how Americans think. This is how that happens. This is what happened in the world in 1800. Like all of that also probably. Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I was like, they were actually interviewing me more than I was solving a RC passage. It was more like, okay, these are things that are happening in the world, and this is how they approach it, and this is how like
Right.
they refute a thesis coming from an engineering background. Helps actually. This is how they refute a thesis. This is how they support it and everything. So the critical reasoning and the RC passages were very fun for me. So practice it like that, not just from a GMAT point of view. I think that's how it helps a lot.
Right.
And yeah, so that is one thing that one should do at least. And not doing something, I think just went just manage yourself according to what time slot you are going to attempt your exam, and just make sure that you have you have prepared well for that time slot, and you are
Right.
preparing for past few days.
That's fabulous. And now, obviously, you'll not be applying this year now that your deferred thing is gone. So maybe you'll use this score a couple of years later now.
Yeah.
But in the meanwhile, do go through all of Know the World videos. They'll help you a lot overall. I'm sure you're intrigued already, just that you didn't have so much time, but do go through those. Genuinely, they'll help. And thanks for your time today. And really hope that everything that you do from now on, I hope you will start working. Have you started working already, or you start?
I'll start working from the next week.
Okay.
So I
So
just wanted to give this attempt before my joining, so that I could then work.
great. So all the best for your work and for the future admissions. If you ever need any help, do get in touch. A lot of your batchmates have been part of our system now. I think
Yes, yes.
Ashutosh is there and many others. Vishruta is there. You must be knowing all of those people probably. And this Shloka who they've gotten into. So these are deferred people, but you probably missed that chance. But this doesn't matter because the score is there. They will probably be joining your batch only now because you'll be joining with them after 2 years probably. All right. All the best, Shivam, then. And keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. It was
Right.
great talking to you.
Right.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.